Israel is still thought to be preparing its military response to the attack from Iran 2 weeks ago. On October 1st, some 180 missiles targeted Israel, most of them deflected by Israel's Iron Dome. We're going to talk more about this now with Joe Macaron, who's a global fellow with the Wilson Center's Middle East program. Joe, let's just start with this Israeli planned attack on Iran. Why has it not happened yet?
I mean, there are two reasons. First, the Israeli are doing the same like the Iranian game, which is the suspense made them wait on their toes for weeks before. Basically, now we see Iranians are more anxious, are doing diplomatic efforts. They are on alert. So this is first the game of suspense somehow, of unpredictability. And the second is, I think Netanyahu sees an opportunity, basically, between quotation, to blackmail a little bit the U.S. We see the U.S. now sending a high anti-defense missiles. Some reports talked about the package of financial aid in return for the Israeli not to target nuclear sites in Iran. So I think the U.S.-Israeli dynamic is very crucial now. We have an election coming. Netanyahu is forcing Biden to have direct talks with him. Before they were sending the Israeli defense minister, Netanyahu insisted on talking directly to Biden. So I think in this sense, there's this dynamic of Netanyahu getting the best out of it before the strike.
Well, how much power does the U.S. actually have over Iran at the moment? I mean, can it convince Israel not to strike Iranian nuclear facilities, oil facilities?
I mean, that's a big question. It has power as much as it's willing to use this influence over Israel. All the Israeli jets now are provided by the U.S. All the weapons are provided by the U.S. But I think we didn't see Biden going as far as setting limits, whether what's happening in the Gaza ceasefire, whether in Lebanon, whether in Iran. So we didn't see a clear U.S. stand drawing the line in where the U.S. interests should be and where the Israeli interests should be. So I think, especially now at the end of his administration, Biden does not seem willing to change his policy. So I think we hear U.S. officials leaking to the media. They say, we got the idea what are the targets, but Israeli might be unpredictable, we don't know. So there's a lot of lack of synchronization between both sides.
In the meantime, Iran has also been engaging in diplomatic efforts to try and reduce the scale of any potential retaliation from Israel. Talk us through those different kind of diplomatic efforts on Iran's part.
Well, first they went to Qatar. They sent an indirect message to the U.S. that we don't want escalation. Then they went to Lebanon, basically, to solidify the rank of Hezbollah and try to harm Israeli interests as a part of the negotiation. And then they went to the regional. They went to Saudi Arabia, another one. They want to ensure that Israeli won't cross the airspace of these regional countries to get to Israel. And those countries, some of them informed the U.S. that they don't want to get involved in this conflict. So they tried a little bit to intensify their front against Israel through Lebanon and Gaza and Yemen, and at the same time sending a message of escalation with the U.S. and trying to engage the regional neighbors. The regime has his own problems now, whether economic, whether the lack of clarity on what they want next from the U.S. So they are struggling somehow and trying to find a balance between, given the internal division inside Iran now.
And in addition to all of that, of course, Iran's most important proxy militia in the region, Hezbollah, has been significantly weakened by Israeli military operations in recent weeks. What effect might that be having on Iran's response or Israel's response?
I think what will happen in Lebanon will largely depend on what's happening between the Iranian and the Israeli, and also the U.S. and the Israeli. So far, we didn't see a clear U.S. initiative to initiate a ceasefire. Hezbollah is weak leadership, but the commanders on the ground are still fighting. We see an operation yesterday, so they are trying to still inflict some damage on Israeli interests and assets in the coming weeks, while waiting for a potential ceasefire. So I think what will happen definitely between the U.S.-Iran will impact what will happen in Lebanon in the next weeks.
And what about public opinion in both Israel and Iran? I mean, what are you hearing from those places about what the people are feeling at the moment and what kind of effect their reaction might have on their leaders?
I think the Israeli public opinion is more interested in Gaza. They were happy with what the Israeli did with Hezbollah and everything, but now I think there's more concern or what will happen next if we have multiple fronts, what's the end game. So I think the more is protracted, this conflict, the more the Israeli will ask questions. But I think in times of war, they are supporting the prime minister because, there are still some movement on that, especially the Israeli society is moving to the right, so they are more into this mindset now. And Netanyahu is also feeding this narrative. In Iran, we don't have public opinions. We don't know what they are thinking, but obviously they don't want conflict. The priority is mostly the economic and the bread issues and economic issues. So they don't want to get involved. But there's the conservative who are worried about the image of Iran abroad. They have to retaliate after the killing of Haniya, Hassan Nasrallah, and all those proxy leaders. So they want to show that they are here, but they don't at the same time trigger a regional conflict or confront Israel or also confront the US, because the Iranian president is interested in nuclear negotiation. So I think Iran is a little bit, the conservatives are obviously want to a national security issue, but the liberals are more into mitigating conflict and thinking about the next step economically.
Joe, thanks for sharing your expertise with us. So Joe Macaron there from the Wilson Center's Middle East program.
Thank you.